The Trump administration and the whole MAGA camp in general have spent an inordinate amount of time ranting and raving about groomers over the past couple of years.
Did our public schools, any schools, become what are essentially grooming centers for gender identity radicals?
Never a time when a teacher needs to sit down with kids and tell them that, hey, you're a boy, but you might actually be a girl.
If you really want to talk to a 5-year-old or a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old about their sexuality and gender, that's on you. You're a pervert. You're a weirdo. I don't give a damn if you're a teacher.
You shouldn't be talking to kindergartners about gender identity, especially if you're not their parents. That's creepy. You should be arrested for that.
But it seems this camp only cares about groomers when they believe that they exist in the LGBTQ community, whereas if you and your brother groom women, traffic them, sleep with underage girls, sexually abuse them, and especially if you come online and brag about it on camera and then get charged with crimes for those activities in a foreign country, Trump and his team will negotiate for your release. The vermin of the underworld, Tristan and Andrew Tate, landed in Florida today after the Trump administration pressured Romania to let them out of house arrest while they face charges of human trafficking, rape, and organized crime. They also face similar charges in the UK. So it seems that when Trump promised that he'd stop traffickers and rapists from crossing our border, he didn't exactly mean it. So much for promises made, promises kept. Hey guys, I'm Hannah Cox. Welcome to my channel where I bring you my politically homeless takes on politics and culture. Before we get started, make sure you like this video, drop me a comment, and take time to subscribe to my channel while you're at it. Make sure you hit the notification bell as well so you never miss any of my videos. No Republican can talk about grooming or human trafficking or Jeffrey Epstein while not addressing the actions that Trump took place today. They are inexcusable, they are unforgivable, they are legacy ruining, and yet they are entirely unsurprising. Multiple people in the Trump orbit have been cozying up to these losers for some time.
Hi.
Hello, Alina.
Hi.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. I'm a big fan.
Well, nice
Big
to meet
fan.
you. I'm a fan. You're the one saving Trump. You're doing more important work than me.
And personally, I think this whole maybe we're going to drop the Epstein files today from Pam Bondi and the Trump administration was to distract from what they were doing behind the scenes. I'm honestly just furious. I'm so fed up. I'm so exasperated. And I just absolutely cannot relate to anybody who would excuse this kind of action. Fortunately, I'm not alone in this. I mean, honestly, I can't think of another time I've seen more prominent conservatives and Republicans calling out their own movement than I have today. As this person on Twitter said, if you're against Jeffrey Epstein, you should also be against Andrew Tate. If you support Andrew Tate, then you might as well have supported Jeffrey Epstein. The two are very similar. Shame on those who support filth like this. Maureen Flatley made a great point. She said, until every co-sponsor of any bill about child exploitation repudiates this, they can just sit down. Maureen's somebody I often work with on the Hill to try to kill very bad bills. Again, bills that they try to push under the Trojan horse of being about protecting kids and keeping kids safe online. And I have not seen a single sponsor of any of those bills having anything to say about this. Not only because their whole grift about protecting kids is made up, it's just a way for them to push their censorship, push their control agendas, but also because they're all simps for Trump. They wouldn't dare speak out against anything he does. I can't imagine building up in my career to a point where I was a senator or a representative and being so incapable of actually leading and actually speaking truth to power, but that's where we're at. I mean, really, the bulk of people in Congress have been completely neutered. Another person said, it's just weird for people who pretend to care about Jeffrey Epstein to defend or celebrate two brothers who are credibly accused of very similar crimes, trafficking women, rape, money laundering, sex with minors, etc. Another person said, you guys look ridiculous demanding the Epstein files and celebrating the Tates. And Ian Hayworth said, want to understand how Jeffrey Epstein got away with everything? Watch how Andrew Tate is getting away with everything. As long as there are people who crave money and power over morality, there will be Jeffrey Epsteins and Andrew Tates. These people don't care about children. They don't care about women, that's for sure. They just hate trans people and care about scoring political points. That's their whole thing when it comes to their ranting and raving about exploitation and trafficking and grooming. They give zero craps if someone is a sexual predator, so long as they are on their team. It really reminds me of the Democrats a few years ago when they were really big on their racism grift, and canceling people left and right. And then when their own people would get exposed, they'd be like, we should just look into some grace and forgiveness. People make mistakes. They had that one governor where I think literally old photos came out of him dressed as a Klansman and he stayed in office. They didn't vote him out. Like, this is the same energy on the right as we saw on the left back then. Not only do these people not care about women or children, they don't even care about men, which is the primary audience that Tate preys on online. He is an abuser and a trafficker and someone who harms women in real life. But what he does online is try to trap men into his entire web. He takes money from them. He preaches messages that will keep them absolutely isolated. He is a manipulator. And the entire way that they are trying to play this is that they were falsely accused. These things aren't real. These crimes were falsely motivated. They were politically motivated. And I just think that's something that we're already seeing a huge uptick in, because that's how Trump himself has behaved. And that has worked for him. That's largely gotten him out of scrutiny on things and on issues, even where he did seem to be very guilty. And so that's the playbook now. And we see more and more men starting to follow it. And we see that it is being accepted by large swaths of the MAGA base. Like, they genuinely believe any man who is charged or sued over sexual misconduct is somehow being like politically attacked and is totally innocent, and that all of these people just conspired against them. Like, I've never really thought diehard MAGA people were super smart, but never is their naivete more evident than when you watch the way that they swallowed this kind of argument hook, line, and sinker. Like, I've literally seen so many dumbasses online, even in my comments, trying to tell me that the Tate brothers haven't been convicted, that their charges have been dropped. Here's one guy, he's like, I've researched this thoroughly. If you've researched it thoroughly, then you would know that the charges have absolutely not been dropped. And yes, they have not been convicted yet, although I honestly think that's really an entirely secondary question. But that is what Trump is trying to help them subvert. You get that, right? I know you don't. I know you don't. Why am I asking that? They don't get it. But that's the whole point here. It remains to be seen how far they're going to take this, if they are going to protect the Tates, protect them from extradition, if they are going to take further action to try to get them off the hook with these charges. But they still face charges in 2 countries. And what the Trump administration appears to have done is to have pressured the Romanian government to let them out of house arrest and let them come to the US in the meantime. So saying that they haven't been convicted yet, when the whole scheme is to protect them from having to actually face charges that would convict them, like, you look like an idiot. And again, I don't really care. Like, in this case, they have already bragged about these crimes on camera. So if they've been convicted, they haven't been convicted, I don't care. I feel certain that they did them because they told us that they did them. As this person said on Twitter, he doesn't need to be convicted of anything. He's publicly bragged about his grooming and sex trafficking activities. When the left grooms our kids, we're pissed. No conviction required. Like, when's the last time that you saw some of these idiots running around talking about people being groomers in the trans community and then demanding that any of those people have convictions before they use that label? Such a double standard. I think the Tate brothers are super pathetic. Like, I truly can't fathom being a man and looking at them with their bad hair plugs and their like desperate need for chin implants and their like such like false macho bravado. I mean, it gives like third world country energy to me. You know, the guys who like still come up in honor culture and like are desperate to prove that they're tough and like they have something to offer, and like it's just totally shallow. Like, that's the energy they give to me. There's nothing masculine about it whatsoever. It's honestly laughable when you watch them, if not for the fact that they're getting away with physically harming people and harming them online, again, because they have done all kinds of fraudulent things. But yeah, I can't imagine being a man and looking at these losers and thinking that that's somehow representative of masculinity. And I think, again, it does speak to the broader issue we have in society, where there is a real crisis in masculinity, a real lack of mentorship and leadership and examples for men. And something's going to have to fill that void. We have to fix the deadbeat dad epidemic. You got to get involved with your sons. You have to be a strong presence in their lives so that they are not capable of being preyed on by grifters and predators like the Tate brothers. Guys, leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. I know we've talked about the Tates a good bit on this channel over the past couple of years. I don't really want to rehash all of the various charges and evidence against them, but I am curious what your thoughts are. If you were surprised by this action, drop in the comments. Let me know. I like to read through them. Make sure you subscribe to the channel while you're there. I will say that at least the backlash from a lot of people on the right has been pretty loud and intense in this conversation, which is a breath of fresh air. There's like very clearly a line in the sand. And it does seem that the main people supporting the Tate brothers are like anonymous accounts. They don't really seem to be credible people. I don't know if they're bots. I don't know if they're paid simps. I don't know if they're people who are like paid into the Tate University thing and just like can't give up the ghost and acknowledge they got scammed. Either way, it's not really like the grass tops by any means that are defending this. It's mostly like very, very odd accounts online. So the good news is actual conservative leaders are speaking out on this. Even though, like I said, I haven't seen anybody in Congress do so, and they should be. I have seen conservative leaders speak out, and I saw Governor Ron DeSantis push back this morning too.
Is he welcome here? What the state do to send back to Romania or whatever?
Well, we have no involvement in that. I read about it through the media. Clearly, the federal government has jurisdiction, whether they want to rebuff his entry into the United States, and I have confidence that whether it's Pam Bondi or Kristi Noem, that they will be looking at that. I do know our Attorney General, James Uthmeyer, is looking at what state hooks and jurisdiction we may have to be able to deal with this. But the reality is no, Florida is not a place where you're welcome with that type of conduct in the air. And I don't know how it came to this. We were not involved. We were not notified. I found out through the media that this was something that was happening. Okay, guys.
That was really good to see from Governor DeSantis. I've had some criticisms of his policies over the years, but I will say he seems to be a man of actual character and to have true leadership skills. And it is just so sad that what we have been left with is the opposite of that. I saw other people like Ben Shapiro speaking out. I mean, people I very, very seldomly agree with on much, but I just have to give kudos here. He said, America does not need more self-proclaimed pimps and terror supporters with outstanding criminal allegations of sex trafficking and a history of pornography distribution, plus a grift university that suckers young men out of thousands of dollars. Abby Libby said, I voted for an administration that would stop human trafficking at our borders. I voted to get rapists and pedophiles off the streets. Trump's action in freeing the Tate brothers was a stunning betrayal of his mandate. Hillary Crowder said conservatives must draw a line in the sand. Alina Habba and anyone else in the Trump administration who has publicly supported this man needs to be shamed into resignation. The tent is big, but it's not big enough for rapists, sex traffickers, perverts, or their supporters. This guy said, I'm so angry this morning. The Tates should have died in prison with the full encouragement of the United States. Instead, Trump decided the best course of action would be to pressure Romania into releasing them and have them come to the U.S. It's safe to say I'm officially regretting my vote for Trump. This is a deal breaker for me. And lastly, Jeremy Boring of the Daily Wire said the way conservatives and conservative organizations respond to Andrew Tate arriving on U.S. soil will tell you everything you need to know about them. Any organization or host who embraces him is engaged in far worse than simple grift, though it is that. Andrew Tate is the enemy of any traditional American conservatism. Not that I thought they particularly had it to begin with, but Trump and the MAGA movement are quickly losing any claim on the moral high ground. They're also losing the ability to argue with a straight face that they are going to protect women and children from groomers or traffickers or other types of criminals. This has been a completely pathetic display, and I hope they pay for it. All right, guys, hope you liked the episode. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you've not already, and if you want even more content, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok.